being able to just, I think for any new leader, try your best to build a relationship with your supervisor, because at the end of the day, they can make you or break you. I think for me, I think about you got to have a system in place. Your system has to, and you got to work that system to make it work. I think about just a continuous improvement cycle. That's something that I did not have earlier on in my career. I wish I had had. I think we would have done a lot, a lot more for kids had we had that. But I think about identifying, like for speaking of instruction, like we look at instruction in two buckets in Chattanooga, academics, and then also look at personalization. And so we also include what's called a continuous improvement cycle that we use. So we do what's called, and I'm going way down the rabbit hole, but to get to where I want to go. But we tier our schools based upon their performance. Once we tier the schools, there's four tiers. The tier three and tier four schools, we see them a lot more than we would see in other schools. But as a leader, these leaders get what's called a continuous improvement plan. They focus on, for example, I was going to say checking for understanding. If checking for understanding is a weakness in their school improvement plan, when we come visit their building, we look for those things. As a result of that, we then give them feedback. Then they create that plan. And so I want to know over the next 6 weeks, how are you going to address checking for understanding? So as a leader, what is your PD behind that? How often are you in classes? Because, we can't just say we want to improve, but then you don't go visit classes. We can't let discipline be an excuse to keep you from getting in classes. In places I've gone, discipline has taken me away from instruction, and that was had a negative impact on kids. And so as a leader, you got to set some type of a system where you're visiting classes. You got to set a system where you're giving feedback, but also a system where you're looking collectively as a group. And so that system that I've seen, just in the last 2 years in Chattanooga has moved several of our schools. But as a leader, you got to figure out what system works best for you and your team. But if you don't have a system, then you're preparing to fail. And so I will always encourage leaders to develop systems around academics, but also develop systems around personalization, that climate and culture piece. If you don't have those going in, you better get them real fast, because if you don't have some systems, the culture will spiral out of control.
Absolutely. Hey, you taking the words out of my mouth. I have a saying, FEHAS, for everything, have a system. So
Absolutely.
you're right. So yeah, that's my acronym. For everything, have a system. So that's perfect.